Hey guys, today we're taking a look at the brand new Neonic Flare Titanium. The Neonic Flare Titanium is a curved standard shape paddle that is 16 by 8 inches with a 5.5 inch handle and a 16mm core. For the construction, it uses the same Gen 2 thermoforming as Neonic's previous paddles, so it shares similar features like edge foam in the perimeter to improve the sweet spot, a durable unibody design, and a stronger and stiffer feel from the hot molding process. And finally, for the surface material, it uses 3 layers. The top layer is titanium, the second layer is carbon fiber, and the final layer is fiberglass. First, let's talk about the titanium. Now, Neonic isn't the first paddle company to utilize it in the surface. Most notably, Bread & Butter was the first company to popularize it with their Shogun paddle. Like the Flare, the Shogun is also a Gen 2 thermoform paddle that's main difference compared to the rest of the Gen 2 market is its use of titanium in the surface. The titanium gives the paddle a less harsh feedback compared to carbon fiber, similar to some Kevlar face paddles, but unlike the softer Kevlar ones, titanium retains similar power and pop levels to carbon fiber. This holds true for this version of the Neonic Flare. It's got a more plush feel off the surface compared to other carbon fiber paddles like the Sword & Shield J3, and I think the plush feel is similar to the Valera Mach 2 Forza, but it's got more power and pop than both. This brings me to the second thing I want to talk about in the Flare, and that's the surface layers. There are some other paddles that have also done different layers in the surface, like the 11624 Monarchs, but I think the Flare is very similar to the Core's Shapeshifter. The Shapeshifter has softer carbon fiber as the first 2 layers, with the first one being an 18K, and the final layer is fiberglass, which is a bit similar to the Flare's surface layout. That first 18K layer is meant to give you a more plush feel and dwell time during softer shots for added control, while the final fiberglass layer gives you that extra boost of pop and power when it gets reached more during hard drives and putaways. The feel of the Flare is reminiscent of the Shapeshifter, but I do think you do get a bit more pop with the titanium surface, and the Flare isn't as soft feeling as the Shapeshifter. However, where the Flare stands out is bringing the previous mentioned qualities to a standard shape paddle, which is something that hasn't been done before. I think a fair comparison to make is calling the Flare a wide-body version of the Shogun, but with a bit more pop on harder shots from that fiberglass layer on the bottom. Now, the Shogun I tested has a swing weight of 122 and a twist weight of 6.21. Meanwhile, although the Flare has a shorter overall length than the Shogun, it's more maneuverable with a lower swing weight of 113 and more stable with a higher twist weight of 7.15. So if you did like the feel of the titanium surface and like the concept of having softer feel without losing power, but wanted it in a standard shape, then I think the Neonic Flare is an excellent choice to check out. Since the Flare does come out after my wide body comparison video, I did want to talk briefly on where I would put it compared to the other wide body paddles I've reviewed. In terms of the power, I would place it just under the Monarch All Court, while above the J3K. And for pop, I would place it just under the Rhombus R2FX and above the Spartus Apollo. So for both categories, it's above the midpoint for those paddles. As for the swing weight and twist weight, it sits just about in the midpoint range, while the spin is similar to all the paddles on the list. And if you want more details on where I rank all of the wide body paddles I've tested, check out the full video in my channel. The Flare does come into a wide body market that already has quite a bit of options sitting there already, but I think it does come in as a solid offering with its titanium surface blend, which makes it stand out, and it also has a solid price point of retailing for $149.99. If you do want to pick one up, I've added my discount code here and in the video description below.
Yes! All day. Net loves us. Whoa. Ah. Come on.
Yeah, not this time.
No.
Not this time.
All right.
2.
Sorry. I'm very very sorry.
That's it. There we go. Oh, shit.